Hello my friends, how are you doing? My name is Lauren. Today I've got another stamp along video for you. I'm going to be making a world travel manicure based on some of my funny stories from Slovakia, including the sausage from hell, and that kind of relates to some of the philosophy that I'm talking about today too. So let's get started. This might be a little ambitious for a stamp along, but why not? Let's just give it a try. I want to do this travel scene and I want the colors to be really bright and vibrant, and so I've got a color wheel here and these are the colors I'm going to use, and this is how I picked them. So I'm taking these three and then this complementary one here. There's a lot of different ways to use a color wheel, but for my purposes today, this is how I came up with these colors. So yellow is my lightest color, and so I'm going to make the background also a yellow. I really like this pale yellow. It has sort of a creamy quality. And I'm just going to do kind of like a lazy gradient here. So I've got my base color. I'm going to add a little white. So that's going to soften that a little bit. And then of course we need glitter. This glitter is picking up some of the colors we're using. Sam is sitting in the same room, he's preening, so if you hear any feathery bird noises, that is why. Okay, that's looking nice and bright and sunny. I'm gonna move on to my scenery plate here. This is the Tatiana Love Nails 11 CP027. I'll list all the products in the description. And I'm going to do like a softer background. So this is, I think, Baroque. I was going to say Renaissance. It's Baroque. And I wanted to do a city street scene on each nail and then one of these ladies in front of them maybe. So that's the general idea. I really don't know exactly what I'm doing, but that's okay. That's why this is a stamp along and not a tutorial. Yeah, so that purple is going to be a really nice contrast onto the yellow. And you can see why, because these are complementary colors. That's the first time I've used a color wheel, honestly. So I'm not like giving instructions or anything, but I just thought it would be cool to play with. See if I can improve my color palettes a little bit. And I want to have some fun with these colors and everything. I'm not really going for realism on this manicure. I think I'm going to go for more of like a vibrant look. So kind of just throwing out the idea of making these look, you know, like real and brown or whatever they probably would be. So let's see how this light purple does on these kind of purple outline. Okay, I think it looks all right. I'm basically taking like a lighter pastel version of each of my like core colors here. So that's where I'm getting these extras from. I hadn't really thought about this street color. Maybe I'll just keep it yellow. So I had kind of an interesting night last night. I went to a meeting called IANDS, which is the International Association of Near-Death Studies. And it took place on a property that is called the Center for Conscious Living and Dying. And it is a place that people go at the end of life and they transition over there. So, you know, that's basically where you go to die. And it was a really beautiful property. I can't think of a better place to do such a thing. But there were about 10 people there, and I don't know if anyone there had actually had a near-death experience, but everyone had a lot of really interesting insights and experiences and different abilities, I guess you could say. There was a guy there who helps people remember past lives, and he was telling some stories about that. And basically, like, I mean, it's a metaphor, like there's not an actual like book, but I can't remember what it's called, but there's basically like a record of all your past lives that you've had. And he sort of has an ability to, like, I guess for lack of a better word, like read the book. So anyway, he could like see auras and stuff. He had a lot of insight into people. I think that's gonna look okay right there. Yeah, I was thinking of like splitting it, but I don't know. So while I was there, I told my spiritual awakening Kundalini story, which you can hear on the video of mine called Portfolio Tour Page 13. And I go into everything that happened to me during that. So I shared that story, and everybody was pretty interested, to say the least. And the past life guy said that I had a golden halo around my head. And I didn't ask him if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But I hope it's good. So basically last night I was asking God to please humble me. It's just really tempting to like kind of think I'm special or something, but I don't know. But some people had some questions. Like I had mentioned that after that experience, I was able to like actually forgive people in my life. Like I understand intellectually about forgiveness, and you know, like I kind of forgive people in theory. Like I know that people are all doing the best they can, and I understand that. But I just never thought I'd be capable of like forgiving from my heart and like really feeling what that feels like to forgive somebody. But actually, I kind of realized it later, like not that long ago, honestly. I listened to an NDE story from a man who was an atheist, and when he died, he had a hell experience. And hell is just when you are not near God. The further away from God you are, the more hell experience you will live. And I think that's probably true in this life as well. So I was listening to his story, and I've listened to other hell experience stories before. They're pretty interesting, but for whatever reason, his description of it, it just made me understand, you know, like, since we're all one, you know, I don't want to suffer, so I don't want other people to suffer, you know, it's all the same. So I really think that forgiveness is not a choice. At least for me, it wasn't. And it's easy to say, like, oh, you have to let it go, you have to forgive. But I mean, I don't think it was a choice for me. I think it was just coming to an understanding, like a real understanding. And, you know, all those people that have wronged me, I don't want them to go to hell. I don't want them to suffer. You know, I think the people that do bad things are already suffering quite a lot. And somebody at that meeting asked the question, like, why, if we choose our soul path here on earth, like, why do people come here and decide to do bad things? And somebody said, well, I think it's because, like, we come here to be tested. And I think that's sort of true. And maybe it's coming down to semantics, but somebody else said, you know, that doesn't really like pass the smell test for me. And I said, I think we come here to remember, and people seem to agree with that. Because, like, when you think about being a child, you know, like you're so close to God at that point, like you just came from there, and you don't really understand the rules of this world yet, which is, I think, why like monsters and stuff seem so real. And over time, we maybe stop believing in God, but we keep believing in monsters. And like, for example, some religions will hear about somebody's near-death experience and really dismiss it as something, you know, demonic or satanic. And I find that so interesting that it's easier for people to accept that the devil is there but not God, that somebody would find the devil but not God. But then I was thinking about it this morning, and I was thinking, you know, I think Satan or the devil is maybe just a code word for the ego. And it is true, you really do have to watch out for it. So I've kind of thought about it like that, you know. I just don't feel like there's really evil in this world, but I think we have free will, if that makes sense. I think of it sort of as like, it's almost like a video game where, you know, when you complete a level on a video game, you complete the game maybe, then what is it that makes you want to go back and play it again on hard mode, you know? Why not just play it on easy mode over and over again? I don't know. I mean, I don't claim to know all the answers, of course, but this is just sort of my thought process. But it's interesting to think about, you know, like what is it that makes us want more of a challenge? So is that what life is like? You know, if you were born into a bad situation, or if you have a hard life, you know, a lot of people would say, why would I choose that? But why would you choose any kind of challenge? To test your strength, maybe? And if that test is to be so far removed from God that the challenge is to find him again, then you know, maybe you know, when you play on hard mode, you don't usually breeze through it. You usually have to take a few tries, play the levels over and over and over again. That's sort of like our past lives. You know, okay, well, you didn't do so good this time, so you might have to go back and do it again. And according to the people who have had those hell experiences and those NDAs and then come back, they do all say that they eventually got out of it, you know, through prayer or through, you know, through asking God. And the thing that's funny about it is that there's no time, no concept of time there. And so when they're in this hell place, it can seem like eternity, can seem like years and years, but you still can redeem even from there. And maybe some people never do, I don't know. But I think the best way to kind of explain like why someone would have a hell experience versus just being like kind of welcomed into the arms of God after they die is because it's just what they're most familiar with here on earth. Kind of like what I was saying earlier, like the people who do bad things, they're already living this hell experience. It's what would be most familiar to them. And I think sometimes maybe you just need a big slap in the face to see what's real, you know, to see what's good for you. It's another challenge, you know, super hard mode, God mode. Anyway, just some things to think about. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's move on to some human figures here. It's kind of my fave. I'm gonna go with Delerium, even darker purple than what we've got going on here. I hope this is the right choice. I'm interested in this figure here. She looks like she's crying, which if you've done a lot of traveling, especially internationally, you might be able to relate to this. Oh gosh, there's like a blob around her. I'm not sure what I want to do about that. If it's possible to get rid of it. I am going to try to get rid of that blob because it's kind of not working with being on that busy background. Let's try again. If you didn't see my short, I am doing a giveaway. I've got a CJS plate that's like Mother's Day, Father's Day, and it's a drawing based on, it's for my member subscribers. So I have tiers that start at $1 a month. Oh my gosh. So if you want to join and support me, they go up to $5, but then you can be automatically entered to win, and I'll be announcing that on May 3rd. All right, let's try again and be a little faster. Okay, good enough. Might have to just add like a tiny little line in the end there, but I think that's good enough for now. Okay, I think she'll go on the middle one because this is sort of a curb here that ends abruptly, so her legs will be able to kind of intersect that. So this image is funny to me because I stayed in Slovakia for 3 months, like it's a long time ago. It was after I was in Iceland, and this one day I was living mostly in the middle of the country and close to the city of Banska Bystrica. So Bratislava is the capital, but Banska Bystrica is like the second most populous city. And I was actually staying in a village called Volkanova, which is just outside, a really small village. But we traveled all around. We were actually living in a car. Me and my friend that worked at the hostel, he had this car that he converted to vegetable oil. And so basically all we did for 3 months was drive around trying to find restaurants to give us like old French fry oil. So we smelled like French fries, and I don't know, it was a fun adventure. So we stayed in the woods quite a lot, and yeah, it was just really cool and kind of, very boho. But we'd gotten into some argument or something, and we were at this festival, this street festival, and I don't know, he left or something, and I was on my own, and I had to take the train back to Volkanova, where his parents had a flat they were letting us stay at. And I don't know, like, I bought this spicy sausage there, and I kind of did it out of spite, which sounds weird, but like, I was being vegetarian and all that stuff, and the skin color. And I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna do what I want. Like, I'm gonna get this sausage. And the people were like, it's really spicy. Like, here, have some bread with it. And I was like, oh, it's okay. I have bread. I had carried some little loaves or something around with me. And they were like, okay. And I went to the train station to wait. And I started eating this sausage. And oh my God, it was the spiciest thing I've ever had. I ate that loaf of bread that I had in like 1 second. It did nothing. I drank all the water I had, which makes things worse, honestly. And it was so spicy. I was just crying. Like, I was crying, and my face got all puffy and my eyes got puffy. And y'all, I'm not kidding. I was temporarily blinded by a sausage in Slovakia. It was no joke. I couldn't believe it. So I missed my train because I couldn't see it. So I was just sitting there on the bench just crying. Oh my God. Super funny. Press F if you've ever been blinded by a sausage. Actually, wait, never mind. I don't want to know. But this woman reminds me of me. My little bag of bread. I'm thinking it might be smart to do a white outline around her. You know how I like to do that? Kind of like add a little sun highlight. Oh, it's going to be tricky with that little blobby thing though. Okay, this may or may not work out. Okay, well, it's okay. Slovakia is pretty cool though. It's not like a ton to do there, I guess. It's very pastoral. I really enjoyed Poland. It's kind of why I went over there. I always wanted to go to Poland for some reason ever since I was a kid. So I couldn't tell you why, but I ended up going. I stayed there for maybe like 2 weeks or something, 2 or 3 weeks. Couch surfed, of course. I was talking a lot about couch surfing on my last video, and I didn't mention that couch surfing is free. That's the appeal of it. So as a host, it cost me a little bit of money just because, you know, like, it costs money to, you know, pick people up, pay the gas and the food and stuff like that. But as a guest, it's totally free. So that's why, like, you know, it's kind of expected that you clean up after yourself at the very least. Sometimes people bring gifts and things, sometimes not. Doesn't matter to me. Oh no, her hair. I'm gonna cry in real life. Kind of looks like she's wearing a headband, so I'm gonna be okay with that. What do you think? Headband? There was another cool thing I did when I was in Slovakia. There was a group of people that my friend, his name was Michal, so Misho. So he knew some people who liked to go exploring in like caves and stuff, like kind of dangerous exploring. And they invited us to go with them to explore this abandoned silver mine in this beautiful town where they mine silver, as you can imagine. But it was all abandoned. And let's try this Blake lady. And it had been sealed up and everything, but there was a little hole that you could just barely crawl through to get into this tunnel, this old mine shaft, or like, I don't know if it's a shaft, but this old mine, you know, had like the railroad tracks or whatever you call them. Not railroad, but, you know, for the like cars, like coal cars, I guess. I don't know what anything is called, but, you know, it's been abandoned for a really long time. And where should this go? So it was, I think it was about 2 miles, 2 or 3 miles. And it was cool. It was a little bit spooky. I mean, you know, there's no lights or anything down there. It was interesting because people had come in and removed a lot of the tracks to use for scrap metal. But the very end of the end part of the tunnel on the way out, you exit onto the middle of this forest, and there's about 10 minutes or so where you have to walk like kind of thigh deep in this icy cold water, like painfully cold water. This water has never seen the light of day. It is so cold. So we walked through that, and pretty sketchy because you can't see what's under the water, you know, if you're going to step on some, you know, rusted metal something. You know, looking back on the things you do as a young person is shocking, right? But it was an adventure. It was really cool. When we exited out of into the forest, it was all nighttime. It was all dark. So then we had to hike back in the dark forest. But yeah, was a very unique experience. That's the kind of thing you do when you couch surf, you know? Like, that's not a tour on the tourist guide. I guess I'll put her there. I'm not like thrilled with this skin color, but I'm committed. At least it contrasts. Another strange thing that happened when I was in Slovakia was that it was like the hottest summer on record. It was so freaking hot, which was great for the veggie oil car, but which, by the way, we were like filtering it through a t-shirt. It was very primitive, but like overnight, literally in one night, it plunged into like fall. It was so hot and then it was so cold, and the entire country got sick. Like, they were on the news saying like, stop coming to the hospital. Like, you're fine, don't be dramatic. You know, it's like because of the weather change, and I got very sick. Michal was throwing up. I had to stay at one of his friends' house. I slept on their floor for like 2 or 3 days. I just like couldn't get up. Like, I don't even really remember. They were very gracious to have me, you know, they had kids and stuff, but like, yeah, it was really wild. I've never had that happen before. Just an extreme temperature change causing like a mass illness. But then, yeah, as it got cold, the veggie oil starts to congeal, and so we had to start cutting it with regular diesel. And there was another time we were driving the car to another town, kind of a sightseeing town, and on the way there was this broken down car. These two guys were on the side of the road, you know, like, oh, we need help. And so Michal, very naive person, very helpful, very kind-hearted, but naive, pulled over to help them. And they were like, oh, you know, we need money for gas. Like, we'll give you this collateral. You know, I have this like gold jewelry. Like, we're good for it. You know, like, we'll pay you. We'll go and get gas and pay you back, or something like that. It's some kind of scam, you know. And I recognize it as a scam, but Michal was like, no, we need to help them. And I was like, dude, it's not a good idea. And he's like, no, we have to help. And I was like, all right. So then he was like, is your car a diesel engine? And they were like, yeah, it's diesel. And he goes, oh, great, perfect. And he goes running over to our car and starts filling up this little tank of veggie oil. And they were like, no. And he was insisting. He's like, no, it'll be perfect. It's great. It'll work. And they were like, they jumped in their car and took off. They were so afraid of Michal filling their tank with French fry oil. So I guess they weren't broken down after all. It was so funny. Oh no, did I forget to put sticky base? I totally did. I want to put this, I don't know, this lady, or maybe this lady here. She's looking very sassy. Okay, I finished that background. Now I'm going to color in this woman. I think she needs some pink lips. Okay, I kind of wasn't sure about her, but it's looking okay. Also, in the grand scheme of things, this doesn't matter at all. So I didn't top coat this, so I'm just gonna really gently put my sticky base. Yeah, see how that white highlight just really makes that stand out a little more. And I'm gonna add some, like, I've got these little birds here. Gonna add like kind of some pigeons. In every city in the world, there are pigeons. So that's it. I think we got it. Little world traveler. What do you think? Let me know. That's it. That's all I have for you today, my friends. If you like this video, make sure you drop a like on it. I love reading your comments, and yeah, keep an eye out for that giveaway. Check out the memberships on my profile page. So until next time, bye.